Magandang araw sa inyo lahat at alam mo, andito na naman si Attorney Jess at pag-uusapan natin today yung mga naririnig kong panawagan para sa cessation ng Mindanao. Gusto daw humiwalay ng Mindanao sa buong Pilipinas. Narinig mo to, di ba? Yung sino ba mga nagbabanggit na to ngayon? Ang dami-dami mga iba't ibang mga
influencers,
grupo. Influencers, congressman.
Wala pa yatang senador.
Wala pa ba?
Meron ba?
Wala pa ako
Sana
narinig.
wala.
Pero sa Congress, ang narinig ko lang so far, yun ang si Kiko Barzaga. Meron pa bang mga ibang kongresista na nagsasabi ng gusto nilang humiwalay ng Mindanao?
Parang dati, last year, si former Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez. Pero hindi masyado pumutok.
Right.
Ngayon yung kay Kong Miao, syempre, pinapa-viral niya, nag-viral naman.
At saka hindi lang yun. Mukhang may parang, I think there's a group behind this that's pushing for this.
Synchronize.
Yes, kasi napansin mo yan on social media, parang ang daming mga iba't ibang mga micro-influencers, mga ibang influencers, but they're all coming from one camp. Yun lang. Napansin mo ba yon?
The Duterte camp.
Yes, let's call it what it is. It is from the Duterte camp. Ang tanong ko lang is, bakit nagkakaroon ng call na to? So pag-usapan natin ngayon, attorney, is bakit nagkakaroon na itong call na to right now, number one. Number two, will it really benefit Mindanao? Kasi ang pinagmamalaki ng Mindanao ay na yung mga nagko-call na to ay kawawa ang Luzon pag humiwalay yung Mindanao sa Luzon, mga ganyang mga salita.
At panahon na daw para humiwalay ang Mindanao dahil matagal na silang hindi binibigyan ng atensyon o self-determination.
So may mga ganung usapan eh. So let's start with this. Bakit sa tingin mo yung call nangyayari ngayon?
Well, it's clear, no? Kahit they deny it, but it is Chinese propaganda. It is China propaganda, no? When we say China, it's the state of China. Last year pa yan, nag-start. This year lang talaga mas pumutok, no? I'm not saying this out of nowhere. Mga journalists who study disinformation, mga media outlets who study propaganda have come out with research or analysis showing na may links talaga ang China propaganda with Mindanao secession. The reason for that is it will benefit China greatly if Mindanao secedes, no? Ang number one impact niyan legally and geopolitically is ma-redraw. There will be a redrawing of the lines or of our maps, no? First of all, yung mga baselines, yung ating territorial waters, yung ating economic zone. Pag naging different state ng Mindanao, then the Philippines will have to the Republic of the Philippines, will have to enter into a treaty with Mindanao to negotiate the boundaries. Madugo din yan, ha? And we assume, and they're assuming na secession of Mindanao is bloodless or as easy as 1, 2, 3. I'm sure there will be resistance from us because there are many non-Luzon, Visayas people, mga Mindanaoan mismo, na who don't want to separate, who are in Luzon or in Visayas working but go back home sa Mindanao. So I find it puzzling for them to say na organic or may sentiment sa Mindanao. So yun yung number one reason bakit may propaganda ngayon.
It's definitely not organic. Yun lang yun. Talagang sinasadyang propaganda to para mangyari to. They're really pushing. And the thing is for me, nakikita ko ang worst case scenario dito is yes, it is China propaganda. But why? Kasi nga I believe China would want to eventually own Mindanao and call it become part of the Chinese
annex.
Parang ganon.
Province of China.
Province of China. And na-imagine mo, nung panahon nga ni Digong, naalala ko yung palagi niya ginujoke na gawin na lang tayong probinsya ng China. And who's really pushing for this? Kaya nga mga Duterte, kasi si Duterte mismo is the one propagating and also the one creating this rift between Mindanao, the South and the North. Parang pinaglalaban niya yung ating bansa. Yun ang pinakamasamang ayoko. And I know that authoritarians have a habit of doing this. Kasi that's how you gain power. Ipaglalaban mo yung isang bansa against each other para sa ganon, you can control a certain faction.
Divide and conquer.
Yes. And people don't see that. And kaya importante yung mga ganitong usapan para at least yung mga tao mag-isip naman at wag lang nagpapadala sa mga propaganda na naririnig nila.
Ang baka tanong sa atin, di ba? Ang layo naman, China propaganda, pero Duterte camp kamo, ang sabi natin na nanggagaling yung propaganda. It's not. Because one, well-documented din ang relationship ng Duterte sa China, ang mga Duterte generally, if not absolutely, pro-China yan. In the sense na ang kanilang sinasabi, no, and we have to call this out, they always say we need an independent foreign policy. But when they say independent foreign policy, that's just a code word for pro-China. Ako okay din ako na anti-US tayo. We should not be dependent on the United States as well. But it doesn't mean that when we have treaties or military cooperation with the United States is we are dependent on them. It's because there's this bully that we have to protect from. And hindi lang naman US ang inaalay natin. We have India, we have Japan, we have Australia, we have the Quad. Kasama na doon ang United States. So, United States is just one of them. And the US has never said na parang we want to take over yung Spratlys or West Philippine Sea. Ang lagi sinasabi ng United States, they want to enforce and ensure freedom of navigation for all, including themselves. Of course, yun yung self-interest ng United States there, no? Unlike si China. Si China naman, kiniklaim niya yung mga islands natin. They're clearly, yung EEZ natin, yung Spratlys Scarborough Shoal, hindi na makapangisda. Yung, if people haven't watched, I invite people to watch yung food delivery na movie. Ang gandang documentary no, that shows how bad Chinese policy or China policy is for our own Filipino fishermen. But going back, no, ano bang link nung Duterte-China? Una, yun nga, pro-China talaga ang mga Duterte.
Yeah.
But secondly, given all of this UNITEAM breakup or issues, no, nakikita ng mga Duterte na, ay, mga pinklawan, hindi natin makuha. Kasi they're trying to get us, ha?
Yes.
They're trying to say na, bakit hindi kayo umaatak sa Marcoses? Dati nyo pa inatak yan. Kumampi kayo sa amin in attacking Marcos Romualdez. But they don't realize that we don't like both in general or issue-based tayo.
Yes.
So may issues tayo sa Duterte, we cannot ally with them. Tapos wala sa kanila ang mga Marcos loyalists. So nakikita nila, ang next best step if ever, no, mga ano to contingency plan, di ba? Kung hindi manalo si Sara sa 2028, kung tuloy-tuloy siyang mabakbak na hindi siya winnable sa 2028, if magkaroon ng Mindanao secession, which is a far chance, no, medyo improbable, but that's why we're trying to stop that early on, no? But if that succeeds, now they can create their own fiefdom or kingdom na Duterte ang magiging presidente sa Mindanao.
Nako, hindi na nga presidente, magiging hari ng Mindanao. Yun ang gusto naman nila mangyari and yun ang nakasanayan ata nila eh. Ang ano ko ngayon dito, ang ginagamit nilang rason for this parang separation of Mindanao is na mas magaganda daw ang Mindanao, mas magkakaroon daw ng economic yung parang economic prosperity dahil daw pag maghumiwalay dahil daw aping-api daw sila. What do you have to say to that?
Oh, di ba magiging Singapore daw ang Mindanao if it wasn't for the NCR politicians. Una sa lahat, Congressman Kiko Barzaga, gawin mo munang Singapore ang Dasmariñas, Cavite. Wala nga kayo sariling Hall of Justice dyan. Galit na galit at lungkot na lungkot dyan ng mga judges at saka mga piskal, saka mga litigants. Kasi walang sariling Hall of Justice, highly, relatively more urbanized ang Dasmariñas than other cities. Pero yung ibang cities may Hall of Justice. Sila wala. Medyo nakikitira sa ibang building. But going back sa idea, no, ang Mindanao kasi, I totally agree na neglected siya or it was abused in history in terms of resources, in terms of attention. Mas lalong yun yung rason bakit hindi siya dapat mag-secede. Because hindi pa tapos or hindi pa enough yung quote-unquote reparations or yung ating pagpaprioritize sa Mindanao for them to secede. Kasi kung mag-secede sila, hindi na mabibigay yung taxes or wealth na meron ang Luzon, specifically NCR, to Mindanao. Kasi top 10 poorest provinces, madami doon nasa Mindanao, admittedly. Pero pag humiwalay sila, they don't have any right anymore to get funding from Luzon or from the NCR. And merong lumabas na data recently, no, Philippine Statistics Authority, na top 11 cities are, in terms of GDP and in terms of taxes, no, are in NCR or Luzon. So, kawawa ang Mindanao if they secede because liliit ang tax base nila, liliit ang kanilang national tax allocation.
Yes. And not just that overall yun na nga mababa na nga yung GDP nila. Sa totoo lang pag-isipan natin to. For our friends in Mindanao, trust me, hindi kayong iniisip nila na sinasabi nila tong separation. Hindi kayo ang makikinabang dito, sila, so that they can subjugate you.
Mga
Yun yung-
politiko.
Oo, yun lang yun para masubjugate ang mga Mindanaoans. Yun ang gusto nila mangyari, which is gonna make it worse. And honestly, for me, yung ginagawa nilang mga calls na to is, well, it's very self-serving. It has really, and walang basis. Sana naman kung may basis yung economic data, na pag tinignan mo tong economic data na to, lumalabas nga dito that actually Mindanao can flourish because tataas ang GDP, tataas ang magagamit ang resources, ganyan pag maghiwalay. Wala eh. It's all based on statements, based on nothing. So, yung nakakaawa dito kung magpapabudol yung ating mga kababayan, mga fellow Filipinos natin from Mindanao, dito sa mga ganitong mga self-serving politicians, kawawa talaga. I would love, actually, for them to realize this. Duterte was president for 6 years. Oh,
Ba't hindi niya napalago?
Oh, 'di ba? Ganun eh. 'Yun ang sinasabi ko na let's stop with this the rhetoric kasi hindi naman talaga nakakatulong 'yan. And there are really self-serving interests here only from one particular party or group, the Duterte group.
And kahit maging fair tayo sa mga Duterte, wag natin tingnan ng Duterte. Doon tayo sa logic na pag humiwalay ang Mindanao, gaganda ang Mindanao dahil wala ng mga NCR, politicians na magkocontrol. Pero actually, if you realize it, aside sa historical injustices na nagawa ng Pilipinas sa Mindanao, but look at the politicians din sa Mindanao, hindi lang
Yun.
Duterte. Let's go beyond the
Yes,
Dutertes,
yes,
diba?
sure. Absolutely.
Ang daming mga warlords dyan, ang daming mga selfish politicians dyan, na sila din yung may SOP. Yung problema sa korupsyon sa NCR or sa Luzon, sa Visayas, nandun din sa Mindanao, if not worse.
Yes.
40%, 50% ng SOP. Diba, recently si Sec Vince Dizon pumunta sa Davao Occidental. It's not Davao City, Davao Occidental. And then pinakita niya, may mga ghost projects din. So, hindi lang NCR ang nagpapahirap sa Mindanao. Mga taga Mindanao din mismo. So, paano nyo masosolve yun? Ito ang kailangan imagine nila. Second, pag naghiwalay ang Mindanao, sino ang mag-aaway-away dyan? Ang mga warlords existing there, sa tingin nyo ba ang democratic movement or civil society ng Mindanao kayang buwagin itong mga warlords? Lalo na ang Duterte. Ano din yan? Warlords yung mga Duterte. Hindi lang nare-realize ng mga tao. And when you mentioned evidence, di ba? Ang problema kasi sa Davao City mayroong vibe check, yung parang safe sa Davao, propaganda, di ba? Pero nung tinignan naman pala yung evidence, ang evidence, one, parang Numbeo website.
Yes.
Parang isang website. Second, napatunayan natin later, na yung mga police reports, yung mga criminal cases, underreported or hindi rin-report para gumanda yung
Imahe,
data
yes.
ng Davao na wala masyadong murder, wala masyadong rape, and then ang dami namang drugs. So, hindi talaga totoo na safe. Kung ano yung evidence noon na propagandize, I'm sure ganun din ang ginagawa nila as to lalago ang Mindanao.
Yeah, and ganda ng binanggit mo yan na yung sa police report nga, totoo yun that it was shown that they were fabricating the numbers. It was all falsified. It was all underreported. And and it's all to be able to create a certain narrative that people can possibly believe. It is sad to see that na yun ang ginagawa ng ating mga politiko ngayon to be able to separate the country.
Misleading
It is misleading.
the country.
And then also, yun pa, yung sa usapan ng mga warlords. My God, karamihan ng mga election offenses happen in Mindanao.
Election hotspots.
Yes,
Election
yung
violence.
Yes, with the private armies, gun violence, mga basically private armies. They're mostly, unfortunately, in Mindanao. By separating from the Philippines, it's going to get worse. Yun yung nakikita ko talagang problema.
And balikan natin yung violence sa Mindanao, Alam mo, hindi naman papayag. Ang hindi pumapayag, ironically, sa Mindanao Secession is ang mga taga-BARM. Yung mga nakipaglaban para sa greater autonomy or genuine autonomy ng Muslim Mindanao, hindi pumapayag sa secession kasi nga gusto muna nilang i-work out yung process ng
Yes.
BARM. Of course, eto kasi isa ding context bakit may Mindanao secession propaganda. Na-postpone kasi ang BARM elections. So, syempre, may disgruntlement na naman.
So they're using that
Oo,
as
kailan
fuel.
yung genuine democracy, etc., sariling self-determination, self-leadership. Pero let's give that a chance first before we advocate for the secession of Mindanao when Luzon and Visayas, NCR, and mainstream politicians nowadays really want to advocate for historical correction of the injustices to Mindanao.
Yeah. And not just that, I wanted to add na I'm thinking kasi moving forward, ano ba yung mga pwedeng gawin natin para ng ating gobyerno para ma-improve nga yung buhay ng mga Mindanawans. And also to be able to spread the economic wealth all over the country. Kasi nagko-concentrate nga lahat halos sa Luzon ngayon, di ba? And I think that's just because of the infrastructure. Yun yung isa
Good you mentioned that, no? Alam mo, medyo madaming may ayaw kay Congressman Leandro Leviste, pero hindi lang naman siya, no? But he's one of the people exposing etong inequitable distribution in the budget. Na-mention na din to ni Congressman Erice, na sinabi niya, for example, budget insertion ni Senator Cheese. Bakit makakakuha ng 9 billion in flood control projects or infrastructure projects ang Sorsogon when meron pang ibang way poorer provinces na hindi ganon nabibigyan ng atensyon. Bulacan, Sorsogon, doon pinopor yung pera. Pero sa Mindanao, hindi. That's one, no? Second, ito yung kay Congressman Leviste, yung idea ng allocable. I'm not sure if you've heard this, no? Ang allocable is parang the new form of pork barrel. Unfortunately, it's still there, no? They circumvented the old Supreme Court ruling with more legal maneuvers, no? It's legal, but we know for a fact it's still pork barrel. Ang allocable is yung parang ano yung minimum amount na meron dapat ang isang congressman sa isang district. And when Leviste showed and crunched the numbers, inequitable yung distribution na parang bakit yung isang probinsya or city na mababa ang populasyon merong mataas na percentage ng budget in relation with the total percentage of the population of the whole Philippines. So again, yung mga top 10 poorest provinces, hindi nila nakukuha yung lion's share of the budget because, quote-unquote, may pork barrel, one, and then second, hindi tinitingnan ano yung fair or meritocratic standards to actually distribute the budget.
Right, okay. So, ano yung sagot dyan? Bakit nga daw?
Hindi, ang allocable kasi, di ba? No, ang allocable, ano yan pwede mong i-allok. So,
alok talaga.
Yeah, allocable. Pero it comes from the word allocation.
Yes.
Oo, so dati kasi, ang pork barrel, may minimum na 75 million pag congressman, 200 million pag senador. Parang yun yung funding.
Yes.
Ngayon, tinago nila sa pangalan na allocable, which is what can be allocated to you as a congressman or as a senator. Yun daw yung pwede mong galawin. Ngayon, ano yung tanong mo? Sorry.
So bakit hindi nga nangyayari yun na nabibigay sa mga kongresista
kontratista
na
the mafia of the DPWH contractors and congressman/senators na may mga vested interest kasi minsan nga daw even before pa pala the BICAM, even before the budget is being deliberated, doon pa lang sa budget proposal ng DPWH to the DBM na ilalagay ng Pangulo doon sa kanyang proposal to Congress, meron ng mga quote-unquote insertions. Kasi binibili na yan ng mga ibang kontratista. Bibigyan kita, DPWH, o pakilagay itong project, yung project na yan, akin yan ha. So, ito yung counterpart ng allocable. May tinatawag na non-allocable. Ang non-allocable, yun na yung mga binili ng mga kontratista even before the budget proposal. Kaya hindi na pwede galawin ni congressman yun. Kasi may kinausap na sa taas, USEC or secretary ng DPWH na para sa isang contractor na to. So, pag na-allocate na yun sa district, technically, it's counted as part of the district. Pero, yun nga, dahil most contractors want to pour projects into Bulacan kasi mahirap i-hold accountable, madaling itago yata yung project, ganun.
Dahil sa district engineer.
Yes. And the USECs.
Yes. So yung just for everyone's benefit, para maintindihan yung sinabi ni Attorney Jess.
If you don't watch the news kasi, di ba?
Yeah, so,
closely.
So ang sinasabi niya is, before pa masubmit yung NEP, yung National Expenditure Program, yun yung galing sa Executive Department sa Malacanang. Yun yung DBM ang naghahanda. Nag-i-insert na sila doon at nilalagay nila yan sa mga iba't ibang distrito, dependent, and also inaalok na nila yan sa mga iba't ibang kongresista before pa masubmit yung NEP.
And senador.
And senators. Na pag-submit ng NEP, may insertions na yan.
Anong proof natin? Si Yusek Cabral mismo. At saka si Senator Tito Soto, Senator Lacson, di ba? Inisplok, reveal ni Senator Lacson at ni Senator Soto, inofera na kami na mag-insert ng project. Ang tawag, leadership Fund.
Ayun. So that's just one of many stories like that na ngayon nakikita na natin at naintindihan na natin. And this is what's good, the silver lining in yung mga nangyayaring corruption ngayon ay nakikita na natin itong mga ganitong kilos na dati hindi natin alam. To be honest with you, ako nga natutunan ko lang itong NEP, NEP, GAB, GAA. Dahil lang dito because of what's been happening eh. And this is good for everyone to be more politically aware, to understand what's happening.
And to be vigilant sa budget process, lalo na ila-live stream nila yung BICAM eh. So, maganda to inform tayo so we can hold accountable and engage. Of course, not everyone ha. So, like people like us, pwedeng i-follow ng mga tao, we follow the BICAM.
Yes. Pero grabe, alam mo, nakakapagod. Nakikita ko yung mga, ang dami-dami na ngayong mga press con. I'm not complaining. I'm glad nga meron ngayon eh. I'm glad ang daming live stream. I'm glad everyday may press con. Pero grabe, nakakapagod. Parang gusto ko sabihin, basically, parang we're doing your job. Kasi, or dahil nawala na yung media, tayo na yung fourth estate, as they call it.
Citizen journalism. Although to be fair, may mga sumusubok pa ding mga traditional journalism na medyo naging new journalism na din. Let's say Billionario, it's trying to be traditional, pero meron din siyang social media aspect.
Yes.
Diba? Rappler, ganon.
Rappler, yeah. And I'm happy for the traditional media that's on the social media space kasi that's where we get most of our information din eh.
Of course. Tayo kasi we're commentators, hindi naman tayo yung mga
we're not journalists.
Investigative journalists. We can be journalists in a sense, no? Medyo broad na ang idea ng journalism ngayon. Pero yung investigative journalism, that requires resources, time, patience, effort, and may skills training din yan.
Yep.
Para maging investigative ka.
Absolutely. And I can't even claim myself to be one. So, I'm just a commentator. I love just looking at what's happening in politics and giving more insight to it eh. Yun lang naman eh, di ba?
And what they can trust from us, di ba, is tayo, we vet. No, we don't commentate on something na fake news or something wrong. We call out the fake news. Tapos when we commentate on something, we make sure na verified na yan, na balita na yan.
Yes, so well at least we try, you know.
Best effort.
Oo, syempre kasi everyone makes mistakes. Kaya nga ako maingat ako pag magre-reshare or repost.
AI, di ba?
Oo, mga AI ngayon, ChatGPT, talagang anlala eh.
Meron yung kay Zaldi ko, nakaganon daw siya sa Spain. Pero AI yun, akala ng mga tao, totoo.
Kinalat nila.
Oo, kinalat nila. Tapos syempre, I'm not sure if ikaw, you receive the same. Ako kasi, mini-message ako, attorney, totoo ba to? Ganyan-ganyan. Ako naman, na-dedelodge, diba? Syempre, minsan na-overwhelmed din ako kasi, grabe, binabaha yung inbox ko. So, titingnan ko din, ganun. Totoo ba hindi?
So, going back to the issue of Mindanao. Ako naman, meron akong, matagal ko nang sinasabi ito, although I don't know how many times I've been able to say this on video. But sabi ko nga, ang dapat gawin talaga ng gobyerno, national government and my suggestion, by any chance marinig to ng mga kongresista or senador, is actually move Congress to Mindanao.
Oh, wow.
And move the Senate to the Visayas.
Oh, wow.
And sa executive, pwedeng Manila pa rin. Why? By moving the three branches of government to different parts of the country, you actually move the economic benefits, the economic circle of that in those areas. Imagine if the Senate was in Visayas or Congress was in Mindanao. Immediately around that area will boom. Immediately. Dahil dadalhin lahat ng mga staff nila doon and all the auxiliary
Interesting.
Yeah, and that would really help at magi-improve ang economy. Why? Because magi-improve ang local travel as well. And local businesses and even housing will improve. The prices are going to improve because you're paying nationally. So imagine mo, Congress representatives are paid mga 290,000 na ba? 290,000 a month, di ba? Oh, yan pa lang, imagine mo, that will increase the wages in that area. So yan ang isang gusto ko talagang pag-isipan ng ating gobyerno. Honestly, if I was a member of Congress or Senate, I would push for that.
It will not be passed by the dynasties kasi nakabili na sila ng mga bahay at lupa dito sa may Quezon City, Batasan eh.
Kaya nga nakita mo ang problema nga natin ngayon dito sa Senate, di ba? Yung tinatay yung mga 38 billion and growing na cost ng building na
Senate building. The new modern one.
Yes, in BGC. Ito yung problema nun. They're now increasing the traffic in BGC by being there. Dinadagdagan lang yung problema ng BGC. When if they had just moved to Visayas or Mindanao, now you're actually spreading the wealth, you're spreading the population, At lalong gumaganda yung mga areas na yun, nade-develop yung iba't ibang areas. I would even move to not even the main city in Mindanao. Not the main cities. I would move to a secondary city pa nga to try to grow that
Not
area.
like Davao, not Cagayan,
Oo, i-move
not
mo pa.
Zamboanga.
Sure. 'Di ba? Yun ang point ko na dapat talaga pag-isipan ng gobyerno, and you move the power. You move the power all across the Philippines.
Ako naman, maybe you won't agree, it's a good idea, pero ang counter-proposal ko kasi dyan, there's a reason why the capital usually has all the seats of power in a certain area na sa capital, let's say the Metro Manila. So ako, ang counter-proposal ko kasi dyan, I don't know your opinion on this, ako ay ma-supporter federalism and a parliamentary form of government. So, a federalism, in a sense, would apply what you're saying. Because now, magkakaroon ng state offices in this Visayas, Luzon, Mindanao, for certain regions or states of the Philippines. Tapos, itong mga national buildings na nasa Metro Manila will be converted to the federal agencies, Federal Senate, Federal Congress. Pero magkakaroon ng state congress sa ibang lugar, which will happen or apply the same thing that you want to happen.
Right. Ako naman,
Pero matagal na usapan yan.
I was gonna say,
and that's a different topic
yes,
altogether.
yes.
You should invite me for a federal parliamentary discussion. And should we abolish the Senate?
Actually, I want to abolish the Senate because I think it's useless. The Senate is so useless. It is a popularity contest.
Redundant.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's redundant. Ako, eto kaya ko din inopen up yung topic. Ang isa sa mga biggest problems natin ngayon, the BICAM.
Yeah.
What is the BICAM? The BICAM is an illegal, undemocratic third chamber, in my opinion. It's legal right now because that's the existing practice. But if you think about it democratically, we vote for senators, we vote for congressmen. You have the lower house, you have the upper house. Ang theory, national representation, Senate, local representation, House. Pero they will always have to reconcile a bill. So kaya may BICAM. Ang BICAM is quote-unquote undemocratic because this BICAM can change whatever the Senate debated on and whatever the House debated on under the justification na we're just reconciling. Tapos syempre, because ginawa na yan ng BICAM, they will ram it through the Senate and say, umagri na kayo dito. Or generally, sila-sila din naman yun kasi only have 12 senators. And then ganun din sa House. So, redundant. Why can't we just have one chamber, but let's improve it na medyo may party list representation na talagang genuine, yung may first past the post. Madami pang ibang amendments So I'm not saying we lose the value of the Senate na national representation, but it can all be combined into one chamber.
Can you imagine kung mangyari? Which I don't think it'll happen anytime in our generation. Parang I mean, unless you have a revolutionary government, that is just not going to just happen.
We almost had one. Did you know that the 1987 Constitution only made a bicameral chamber by one vote? The original intention,
by one vote.
Yes, the original intention of the framers of the Constitution, if you look at most of the provisions in the Constitution, they contemplated one chamber.
Wow!
Last minute, nagkaroon ng movement to make it two chambers. Tapos, kasi nga traditionally, we had two chambers. May mga senator. Senator Manuel Quezon, Senator Sergio Osmeña, Senator Manuel Rojas, lahat yung mga ganyan, traditionally. So, gusto pa din nilang i-keep yun. Pumasa by one vote. Did you know that the controversy sa JBC, Judicial and Bar Council, is caused by that kind of accident or historical context? Ang JBC only has one member from Congress, nakalagay. So, kinailangan pumunta sa Supreme Court for the Supreme Court to say, ganito, hatian nyo na lang. Senate and Congress. Half-half kayo ng term. Imbes na one full term. People can research this, that the reason why there's a senator and a congressman in the JBC with half terms, hati, is because one chamber lang dapat ang constitution natin. And so, the JBC was originally written to only have one representative from Congress. Meron yan word, representative. So, nag-focus yung Supreme Court, ang original is means singular.
Yeah.
Oo. Pero, they have to grapple with the bicameral chamber na. So, gumawa sila ng outcome na ganito ang mangyayari. Kailangan mag-negotiate ang Senate tsaka House who will sit when.
Right. Okay. That's interesting. Pero right now so I don't think din mababago yung BICAM na yan. Okay, so that's just-
Anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. But I am happy na ngayon gagawin ng transparent. I think what happened this naman, when you talk about the BICAM, is, yun na nga, ang trabaho lang talaga is to reconcile. Inabuso lang talaga.
Oo.
In other words, it's not the system, but the people and the culture that really tries to abuse the system and bend it to their will. Yun eh.
And selfish interests.
Yeah, yun naman yun eh. How many times, so meron kang trabaho ng kongresista. We have the power of the purse. Tignan natin yung budget. Kailangan natin to, lagay to kasi alam ko yung district ko, alam ko na may pangangailangan ganun. And then that's when it got bastardized into, gagawin ko to kasi meron akong makukuha dito. So palakihan tayo. Pero before that, the intent of these
BICAM.
Yeah, the BICAM and even
The process.
the process of the budget was really to be able to make sure that every district has proper allocation, not for the benefit of the member of Congress or Senate, but for the people.
Based on need.
Yes.
Based on equity.
Yes, pero yun na nga, because of na-bastardize na yun, binastos na, inabuso na, kaya nandito tayo
Because
ngayon.
may political dynasties.
Yun.
We will have to go back to that.
Yun.
It became a family business. Tingnan mo kung hindi yan family business, may checks and balances. Kung hindi naman kayo magkakapamilya, hindi naman kayo magkukulod eh. Again, doon sa ating first episode, di ba? Kung hindi mo naman nanay at tatay yan, pwede mo yung questionin eh. Tapos, kung hindi din kayo dynasty, di ba? May one dynasty from one district or one province. Syempre, yung dynasty from the other province, hindi niya aatakihin or questionin ng matindi yung kabila. Kasi dynasty din ako eh. O sige, lahat tayo, let's protect each other eh. Mga ano naman tayo, lahat tayo Nepo babies. Lahat tayo dynasty. Pero imagine ko na, ikaw, nandun ka sa Congress, nandun si Hidarian, nandun yung isang dynasty, assuming may dynasty, di ba? Kayo kaya nung questionin kasi there's nothing to lose. Wala naman din kayong dynasty na parang you will have to protect kasi kaya questionin din nung kabilang dynasty. Walang ganun. So kung ano lang yung tama, yun yung kay-questionin. Kung walang dynasty, walang succession, parang monarchy na pinagpapasahan yung posisyon, wala kang kailangan protektahan and you can be really independent and for the people.
Yeah. Okay, sige. Alright, well, you know what? I'm glad we had this discussion about Mindanao and then umabot tayo sa usapan ng anong pwedeng gawin moving forward. And napag-usapan na rin natin yung budget and the BICAM and Senate and Congress, and I appreciate all the inputs you've given me here. And do you guys agree or disagree with Attorney Jess sa mga sinabi niya ngayon? Gusto ba niyong makita humiwalay ang Mindanao? Are you from Mindanao? Where are you from? Sulat niyo lahat yan sa comment section sa ibaba. We'd love to hear from you guys. At remember, all opinions are welcome and we can always agree to disagree. Attorney Jess, salamat sa oras mo. And for everyone, if you enjoyed this kind of video, please make sure to subscribe. At by the way, dadagdag ko na rin. Alam mo ba, meron na akong membership sa aking YouTube channel.
Wow!
Oo, so kung gusto nyo supportahan ang channel na to at ang ginagawa namin trabaho, please consider becoming a member.
May exclusive content.
Meron. Actually, itong dalawang tier yan. Yung unang tier, it just gives you the loyalty badge and very unique emojis that you can use during the chat sa mga live stream. And then the next tier na gagawin ko, merong exclusive content yan for members only. Alright? Anyway, salamat sa inyo lahat. Salamat, Attorney Jess. And we'll see you guys in the next video.